Why is it when you work long hours, your body takes a hit as a result? It's simply because you don't have the current identity of someone that can balance the two lifestyles together. So watch this video till the end and I'll explain exactly how you can do that. First of all, you need to realize that your current identity doesn't match the person who can actually stay in shape at work. So what you have to do is you have to filter out your thoughts to your collective consciousness, which is the thoughts and thought patterns and the thought loops of every single person at work. And you have to understand that if these thoughts don't serve me towards my goal, then I should filter through them. And how you filter through these thoughts is you must first understand how the diagram actually works. So it's your thoughts, it filters through to your conscious mind, which is your mind when you're awake, your unconscious mind when you're asleep, and your unconscious mind, your subconscious mind basically is the emotional patterns that really drive our actions. So if we look at your emotional patterns, it all comes from your subconscious mind. So it's the feelings that you get that really imbued that action. So let's say we're at work. This is an example. And Susan offers you a coffee, right? She's like, I want to give you tea and biscuits. Do you want one? And you're like, yeah, sure. Immediately, you just conform to the collective consciousness because you're like, well, I don't really want to say no to Susan, but then you don't really have any subconscious thought battling against what Susan wants, which means that you ultimately lose. And this is the balance and the dynamic that's happening at work. And the moment you shift this understanding, then you'll just be a person that has their own goals. You know, you can say no to basically everyone at work because it's not going to go against your own beliefs and what you want to do, and obviously getting in shape, getting shredded for summer. See, the goal is to get shredded for summer. And if you want to get shredded for summer, you have to realize that it is a fast track. To get shredded in 2 months, you have to be in a caloric deficit every single day. And that seems very washed by what's been purported on the internet. We all know what a calorie deficit is at this point, right? But but you need to figure out how to actually do that. So right now, you are definitely eating well below your maintenance calories. So for your maintenance calories, understand that if I weigh 200 pounds, 220 pounds, 180 pounds, I have a certain amount of caloric expenditure that my body produces. And all I need to do is eat less or just move more. It's literally that simple. But once you've figured out your caloric expenditure, that's when the game actually begins, because then you can actually navigate what you want to eat. And then when you get to that position, because this is obviously for the people who are actually serious and actually getting shredded before summer really starts, and for the people who want to go to work, you want your colleagues to be like, what the fuck have you been doing? You're like a completely different person. See, when I got shredded before summer and I was at work, everyone would always ask me like, what are you eating? What are you like, what's your diet plan? Bearing in mind that everyone asking me that question, they don't have the identity of someone who can actually manage a lifestyle of being in shape. That's why they're not in shape. And you currently don't either. So you have to change your mind and think, does this thought benefit me in where I want to go in terms of my physique? And if it doesn't, you have to completely get rid of it. Because if you feed your mind with negative thoughts, it's going to lead to negative actions, which means that you're going to be in the exact same position because that negative action has only come from your subconscious mind. And that's where everything really begins, because that's where the emotion takes place. And you have to understand, wherever emotion is where you need to have complete and utter control of where you're going, or else you will be the most inconsistent person you've ever seen. And that's probably why you're out of shape, because you're inconsistent. You have a burst of motivation for maybe even a couple of months and you fall off a cliff. So you have to understand your current identity. What I tend to do is I like to visualize things and write a lot. So if you're really struggling to understand your current identity, you need to just write out who you are now and what you do now, and then write out your best current identity. And once you do that, you'll understand there's two differences here. But because you're doing this exercise, what writing does, it gives you the imagination, right? You're giving yourself the ability to actually think outside of doom scrolling and working and just wasting a bunch of time. Because a lot of people forget that if you're not writing things down, then it's literally just a figment in your imagination, because I'm pretty sure we have over 50,000 thoughts filtering through our mind. And if you're not writing anything down, how can anything stick? It just won't. So once you've figured out your current identity with your dream state, your goal identity, then all you have to do is align the two. And that's just it. When you're in complete alignment, you really understand that it's not really about a specific action. It's about complete congruency in who you are and in line with the goal. So if I was to say to you, where do you want to be in a month's time? And then you just laid out a complete map, right? But it's not the map that it's impressive, it's your mindset towards the map. Because whenever you ask that question to people, they've got no clue. They'll give you some cookie cutter, some basic plan that ChatGPT could have written. But it's all about how specific is that to your lifestyle and who you are and your current daily duties, your responsibilities. How specific is that, right? Because a lot of people think AI can write a plan for you and AI can do that. It can't give you specific information about your life, right, that you can immediately apply. Because if you don't know something, how is ChatGPT going to miraculously tell you anything? It's not, right? You have to know the information first for it to be filtered down and specific. But if you don't know the information, then how are you ever going to realize that I can actually do this? You're not. So what I want you to take out and really apply after this video is just complete and utter action. But you have to understand your actual identity, the identity of someone who gets shredded for summer. How does that person think? How does that person operate when he's at work? Does he say yes to Susan's tea and biscuits? Does he say yes to work parties all the time? Does he say yes to drinking out after work? And you really got to understand that, does that person do that? The answer is no. Because I can tell you for a fact that there is a correlation between drinking alcohol, saying yes to basically everything that's presented in your current environment, and being completely out of shape. Because those things don't align with the person who is in shape, right? It just doesn't make sense. So what I want you to do is really understand your current identity. Really understand, why am I in shape? Write those things down. And once you've written those down, you've got it in pen and paper. And now, because you've actually honed in on what it actually is, because a lot of people, they lack the ability to be self-aware. And self-actualization is a really key skill that everyone misses. Because if you can't realize your actual situation, how are you ever going to improve from it? So really think about it. Think about how I can dominate my current environment, and really just become an identity where it's only going to be a matter of time. Because once you've aligned yourself with that identity, time collapses, because it has to. You are the main variable. Time can only just really vibrate to the energy that you exude. So understand that this is how you get shredded before summer working full time.